Good. Cold one out there today, huh? Is it morning? Yeah, good morning.
Everyone ready for questions?
Fire away.
Coach Hemphill, how have you been impressed with the growth in the linebacker room based on what your expectations maybe were to where they are?
100%. I think, like, losing Damian for a couple of months was the worst thing in the world for me. But then on the flip side of that, it made some other guys have to step up and really say, hey, I could be the guy. So it really lit a fire under some of the younger guys, which was a really good thing for the program. So yes, very, very, very happy with the progress of the linebackers.
Coach, I have like a two-part here. What have you seen this whole month from DJ Hicks? And then what's the competition been like on that other defensive tackle spot?
Yeah, DJ's been awesome. DJ's playing hard. He's running after the ball. He's being physical inside. The other side's it's actually been really good. We've had a ton of guys, with DJ, and then when DJ's out, we've got 5 or 6 guys right now that we think we can play in the SEC. We've got Landon. We've got CJ Mims, we've got Angelo, and then Brandon Davis is, he's come back and has done a really nice job. So, and then you got, and then you got the other DJ. So, I mean, we've got some good depth there.
Does anybody distinguish themselves a little bit more?
It's getting there. No, I feel like we've really got like 4 or 5 defensive tackles that can play this year.
What's been the biggest point of emphasis for the defense since that first scrimmage, and then how do you feel like the defense has come along and things that you thought went well in that second scrimmage this weekend?
We had to get just kind of running out of the stack, meaning when the ball gets out, our ability to just turn around and run. That's something we were looking for in the second scrimmage, and we got it for the most part. I think just the overall execution, that's probably the biggest thing we were looking for. The guys have now been in the defense for a spring, through the first, scrimmage of camp. We were just looking for overall execution. I think we got it.
We're about to talk to Jordan Shaw in a minute. You had talked about those 3 or 4 guys maybe that can win that nickel spot. What has Jordan done and separated himself, or what's the kind of assessment the nickel spot?
He's just very consistent. Just consistent every day. Comes out. He's the same Jordan Shaw. He does his job. He's just been super consistent.
How rotational can you be, or would you like to be at the cornerback position, and kind of what's that battle?
I love to be rotational. Love to it. Like the way you guys look at a game is you look at a game like 70 plays. At the corner position, I look at a game like 140 plays. You know what I mean? And how are you going to split those 140 reps up? And I'd rather cut it in 3 than cut it in 2, you know what I mean, or 4. So, I think when you look at our season, and it's a long season, and if you can just keep some of the tread on those tires as we get into the later part of the season, I think the better off we're going to be.
I think there's about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks left until the first game. What do you think still needs to be improved, and what do you think that was a weakness last year that maybe could be a strength this year?
The run fits. We're getting better at those, and I think to answer your first question, like the overall execution just needs to continue to get better every day, consistently. Overall execution needs to get better.
What makes Julio and Ricky different from each other, and what are you kind of seeing in their competition?
I mean, the one thing they can both do is run. I think naturally, Julio may not had as good at ball skills maybe a year ago, but that is something that he has worked extremely hard on, and it is improved. I mean, it's crazy really what he's done to be able to play the ball in the air. I mean, he's really worked hard at it. Other than that, I mean, him and Rick they're both pretty good players.
We talked to Julio before. He had mentioned us that the team as a whole was working on getting more turnovers. Have you seen that in practice so far, or are we still waiting to see that more?
Yeah, the scrimmage was tough because it was it was more of a thud scrimmage. But yeah, I mean, catching the ball, it's starting to happen. We're starting to see it, which I'm glad because we've worked so much on it. We've had to catch 2,000 balls before practice, every day, up to this point. So I'm glad to see it's actually paying off, and we're not just getting our hands on the ball, we're actually catching it.
Do you have the DBs go with the jugs like the receivers do?
Every day. Every day. You know, if you can get, you know, I tell them, if you can get 10 or 20 in a day, you know, times 20 practices, you know, you're looking a lot more catches, and they need it. They need it.
You mentioned how Jordan's consistency has really stood out to you. Just what have you seen in the last couple of years, the work he's put in to develop that consistency in the areas that he's grown in his game the most?
Yeah, I think the thing that's helped him the most in the last 2 years, to be honest with you, is going against last year KC every day, and then this year it's Mario every day. Like, that's just made it, like, you have to strain every single play with those two guys or you're going to get embarrassed. So it's really like put him in the spotlight every time they do a one-on-one, every time they do a release drill, every time they do a team drill, every time you do 7-on-7, like, you're on or you're going to get embarrassed. And he's embraced that, and he loves it. And you know, Mario loves it too. Mario loves to see him across from him. It makes them better players. They compete. You know, they compete their tails off.
What are the 2 or 3 things this defense has to do for it to be successful this year in your mind?
No, I mean, number one, we got to stop the run consistently. Number 2, we got to take the ball away, and number 3, we got to disrupt the passer. You know, we can never let a quarterback just sit back there and feel comfortable throwing the ball. Those 3 things.
On the D line, like, what do you expect to maybe take that next step going into the season?
There's like, we just went through the D tackles. I mean, I'd like to see a lot of those guys take the next step. You know, we're really, you know, one of those guys becomes, you know, equal to DJ Hicks. We're pretty good up front.
So I had told Marco on field at the same time.
Yeah.
Was this one of those obvious no-brainer things to do, or is it something that throughout camp you said, hey, you know, this looks like something that we need to do?
Yeah, at times I think they'll both be out. At times, you know, right, and we could put really, and the other guy that's really started to push is Sam Pemba. You know, so we feel like we've got 4 or 5 defensive ends that can go in and play in the SEC. So throw any of them out there, you know, we feel pretty comfortable with it.
What are your thoughts on Ray coming and how has he sort of adjusted to the system?
He's picked it up very well. He worked really hard in between spring and fall camp. Like, I felt like in spring he was trying to keep his head above water. You know what I mean? Then we got to the summer, and then he really dug in, knew what he needed to get better at, and like worked his tail off at it. And then he's came back in camp, and he's had a great camp.
What did he need to get better at?
What's that?
What did he need to get better at?
Didn't he need to get?
You said that he saw things he needed to get. He needed to get
Just
better.
scheme wise, things we were doing is very different from what he came from, scheme wise. So he needed to learn and adjust, and he figured it out.
Good linebacker instincts on that guy?
Yeah, very good linebacker. He's a good tackler, puts his body on people. I always talk about, I like tacklers that put a lot of surface on it, surface to surface we talk about. He naturally just puts his whole surface on people when he tackles, and I love that.
How's Damien's progression going, and just how you feel like he's really starting to get back into things?
He's been taking team reps. He's been doing great. Hopefully he just keeps progressing.
How encouraged have you been by the freshmen, guys like Chance Collins, Arrington, Singleton? Seems like a lot of guys are pumped.
Yeah, it's so different now. You expect these guys to come in and just be guys right now. You got to take a step back sometimes and understand that they're freshmen. On the flip side, though, you need them to play. So, you know, there's an urgency that sometimes you have to remind them of every day, but they're coming along well.
Philosophically, you're a guy with a secondary background.
Right.
Do you look at the back end and say, hey, they really help out the guys in the front, or is it more so like the strength of your team is just kind of front to back, whatever it is?
I know I'm a secondary guy, but it's front to back for me. Like, it's everything starts up front. Like, if it doesn't matter what coverage you play, if you can't get to the passer, you know, they're going to find it. I really think from stopping the run, making people one-dimensional, rushing the passer, like, it all starts up front for me.
You mentioned the linebacker adjusting. Do you consider your system hard for players to adjust or easy to adjust to?
Once they get it, it's pretty easy, you know, but it's different. It's different. You know, we ask a lot of them initially, but once they get it, they got it. It takes a second, but once they get it, I think, and that's what it was with him. That's what it was. Talking about Ray, you know, it took a minute, but once he got it, he's been firing on all cylinders.
You plan on being in the box or down on the field?
I'll be on the box guy.
What advantages is it to have yourself in the box, you feel like?
You can see everything. I'm a short guy. I can't see anything. If they got a crown on the field, I can't even see the other sideline. So.
All right, thanks, everybody.